Okay. Entry level iPhone.
The iPhone 14 Plus, which now sits above the base iPhone 14, but below the Pros. Probably for two reasons. A, the Mini was not a huge sales success. Like, even though it was 25%
Okay, the Mini wasn't a huge. Yes.
of the iPhone 13 lineup, it only sold about 5%.
Yeah, it's only about 5%.
To the volume, which I think is mostly due to the fact that smaller screens make the average person think that a phone is worth less. But also
Yes,
B,
size doesn't matter. Let's make it just.
the simple fact that this has allowed Apple to swap out the $699 iPhone for what's going to be an $899 iPhone. And yes, they give you a bigger screen and a bigger battery for that, but that won't cost them close to the extra $200 that they're charging for it. Just leading to more profit per unit than before. But that doesn't mean it's a bad option. The main reason that I always go for these Ultra Pro Max phones is because they're the only ones that can satisfy my battery life needs. And also the fact that...
Yeah, this can satisfy your battery life needs.
When you have a little bit of...
Let's see, does it? Oh, yes. Yeah, dang it.
Extra battery life headroom, it prolongs how many years you can keep using it before the battery becomes an issue. And so
I think we need to speed things up a bit. Just a little bit. Or meh.
the fact that this iPhone 14 Plus can give you maybe 3 or 4 more hours on the standard iPhone 14 without having to spring to the Pro Max makes it a viable option. Now, the biggest upgrade that we had with last year's iPhone 13 Pro is something that we call the ProMotion display. A fancy way of saying a refresh rate that can scale all the way up to 120Hz, which makes the phone feel very responsive and smooth, and all the way down to just 10Hz, which saves battery when you're looking at static pages. Well, this year, that 10Hz lower limit has just become 1Hz, and that actually changes how you can use your phone. It means much more potential battery saving, but more importantly, it's enabled Apple to create a really efficient,
always on display.
The fact that the screen can refresh just 1 time per second, paired with the OLED panel it uses, which allows the black pixels to turn off completely, means that you can have a screen like this on all the time. They can still keep you updated with any stat or calendar or notification with practically zero extra cost in battery life. And like with most things here, not a feature that we've never seen before. I used to have an always-on display on my Samsung Galaxy S8.
Okay, the Samsung Galaxy S8.
Like 5 years ago. And through third-party apps, you could make that always-on display show almost anything you wanted it to. But the value of what Apple's offering here is a strong set of options that are visually consistent with the rest of the operating system, easy to use, with an even lower hit to your battery, and without needing to go down the route of downloading apps that you don't particularly trust. And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely things that Apple does that irritate me to no end. But I don't think the fact that they wait till they can do things really well is a negative. Kind of what I do with my videos. I'm never the first one to upload a video on a topic, but I just like to think that you know that when I do post, it's because I have a lot to say. And so a sub to the channel would be applicable. Plus, the way that this always-on display is integrated into the rest of the software is classy. With most Androids, first your screen turns off, then you're always on.
Okay, is that Google Pixel 6 Pro or something?
Display just pops in. It's kind of like you're opening a separate piece of software. With the iPhone, kind of like some Xiaomi phones with their super wallpapers, transition subtly from your home screen to your always-on display. It makes it feel like a thoughtful feature, like it's not just being tacked on at the end. And I also imagine that once they add more features to this always-on display, this will be the new lock screen, and you'll just go straight from it to your home screen. But we're not quite there yet. And then, just before things start to get worse, they get better. The rear cameras are also getting upgraded. On the normal 14 and 14 Plus,
the 14 Plus
slightly better sensor, which has better stabilization and a faster shutter time. But then, the more significant upgrade actually comes from the software. Apple's saying that this new image processing that they're calling the photonic engine can bring up to 2 times more light when taking night shots. That is a very exciting number. But I just kind of want to temper your expectations on that one, because I've seen lots of big quotes like this over the years without much of a follow-through. They also introduced Action Mode, which is a super stabilized version of the normal camera. Good to have, but I mean, Androids have had this for years now, and I never really use it because it completely kills the quality.
Kills the quality.
Apple's done it better. But then they went further with the Pros. For someone whose primary phone is an iPhone, and whose favorite part of Androids is how exciting their camera setups are, imagine my face when Apple revealed that finally, the iPhone 14 Pros are going to come with a 48-megapixel main camera.
Okay, 48-megapixel main camera.
Now, 48-megapixel sensors aren't anything new to smartphones. You can literally go to Amazon and buy like a $200 phone that has one. But the reason that I'm optimistic about this is that iPhones have had 12-megapixel cameras for 7 years now. You've had companies left, right, and center just throwing out 108-megapixel sensors, but Apple has just stood there like, nope. 12 megapixel. And this sends a very clear signal that Apple isn't going to make their cameras high resolution just to be able to say that they're high resolution.
Okay.
They're only going to do it when they think it's enough of an upgrade for an average user to be able to tell. So when you combine this new 48 megapixel camera with the fact that you can now take cinematic video in full 4K resolution, that is huge for me, by the way. With the new ultra-wide camera that the Pro iPhones also get, the improved macro photography that comes as a part of that package, with the new photonic engine that all
Photonic engine.
these iPhone 14s are getting, this is a camera system that you can bet I'm going to be fully testing on this channel. And it's all topped off with one of the smartest camera features that I've seen in a long time, an adaptive flash. Being able to recognize how far away your subject is, and then adjusting the intensity of the flash module accordingly. The phones have been able to detect how far away your subject is for years now. I'm actually kind of shocked that it's taken this long for this feature to exist, but it's a very good one. There's also a new chip this time around, the
Okay, the A16 Bionic.
A16 Bionic.
This is you. Wait, no. This is you. And you want to conquer the world of Albion?
No. This
This is where things start to get a little hairy.
Yeah, well, Harry.
The angle Apple basically took was to say, well, hey, our A13 Bionic chip from like 3 years ago is already more powerful than the competition. We're only going to
The A13 Bionic was.
compare this new A16
The A16.
to that chip, which is pretty much a guarantee that if you compared it to last year's A15, it is not a big jump in terms of
Yeah.
actual peak performance. I appreciate the new 5G modem that
Okay, the 5G modem.
reduces power consumption when you're using that 5G, and also
5G?
supports more 5G bands for better coverage, which is actually much needed because right now my iPhone is getting handily beaten by the competition in 5G capability. But where it started to go properly downhill was when we realized that you're only getting this upgrade if you go for an iPhone 14 Pro. We already sort of saw this happening last year with the iPhone 13s, where the normal iPhone 13 chip, even though it had the exact same name, was actually weaker than the iPhone 13 Pro chip. But this year Apple's taken it a step further by literally giving you one for one the same chip as last year with the same name as last year. And listen to this!
Now, we are bringing this proven pro-level performance to iPhone 14.
It is absolutely amazing that they are labeling this as if it is a feature. And there's two ways of looking at this. I've seen so many people just like, who cares? The iPhone 13 is already so far ahead of Androids with its chipsets in terms of both performance and performance per watt that nobody is going to notice the difference. Plus, I guess you could also argue that this helps Apple to get around the current chip shortage, whilst also getting some extra use from chips they've already made that might otherwise have to be thrown away. But
Thrown
on
away.
the other hand, the way that I can't help but see it myself is that a phone's chipset is about so much more than performance. The chip is responsible for how well your phone can take photos, how efficient it is with battery, how advanced its AI is. There's not a lot that it isn't responsible for. And so, by getting last year's chip, you're not just missing out on that extra 10% gaming performance, you're effectively paying full 2022 pricing for a phone that's just generally bottlenecked by having last year's brain. You certainly do not get $800 Android flagship
$800 Android.
pulling this move. Which brings us to the next subject about these phones, like the design. The iPhone 14s do not
Wait, it is on.
look like badly designed phones, but they are just incredibly uninspired. The same
Uninspired.
sharp sides and corners, the same materials, an almost identical looking camera system, and very similar color selection.
And very similar color selection.
Apart from that purple, that's kind of hot.
Apart from that purple.
And this is intentional. You can tell that Apple is very confident with the way that their phones are designed right now, and they aren't in the business of unnecessarily changing just for the sake of having something completely different. Which you can see through the designs of past few phones. Literally,
The flashing
the only
phone.
thing that's changed is the size of the camera module.
The size of camera model. You see.
And so my point is that in the face of other companies who are making much more
Other
significant
company. Yeah, she's talking to the phone a bit.
design refinements, as well as the rumours of what the iPhone 14 could have been,
Could have been.
what we've actually gotten is not exactly setting the world on fire.
Yes. Setting the world on fire.
And then we get to the ugly.
Yep.
Almost definitely the least enjoyable part of this event is when we realise that all the best new features are being made exclusive to people buying the 14
Well.
Pros. And this is where it really clicked for me, that Apple is starting to create a noticeable divide in its user base. When this company first started releasing
Okay, if we
upgraded
upgraded.
versions of their existing phones, it was a very simple case of, hey, this one's just bigger than the old one. But at this point, it's like the Pro and the non-Pro phones are a generation apart. I can see
Generation
why
apart.
Apple's doing it. They're at a stage now where their existing standard phones are good enough for most people. And so there's an increasing majority who won't just drop everything to buy the top-end model as soon as it's announced, but will instead just wait until their current phone stops working, and then upgrade to the base version of whatever happens to be the latest generation of iPhones at the time. And this is the bit that I don't love. For all of these users who are just upgrading without really putting too much thought into it, Apple's trying to make sure that they're not giving them too many good features. They're effectively selling them older tech at full price because these people may not notice the difference. And then they're only actually giving the modern good stuff to the people who are both aware that they want it and are willing to pay more to get it. To check out my unboxing of the Tesla Electrophone, that video's
Yeah,
here.
that's all. Goodbye.